Hello, my amigas. Today we are going to talk about the show, The Good Doctor. Is it any good? Stay tuned and we'll get right into it. So today I want to talk about the show, The Good Doctor, and I will be totally honest, I was totally opposed to that show. I remember like seeing the scenes about the show and hearing about the show and rolling my eyes and being upset like, oh, here we go again, like crazy media portrayals of autism, and I just never watched the show. I talked to some people and I don't know how. It was just decided that I needed to watch The Good Doctor and find out about it a little on my own. So first, let me give you a little bit of background because I did some research on The Good Doctor. So first of all, I was blown away. That show started in 2017. If somebody had said to me, Mary, how long has The Good Doctor been on? I would have said, I don't know, 2 seasons? No. This September 2021, it will be going on its 5th season. So it has been renewed for a 5th season. The series is actually based on a South Korean show of the same name that started a couple years before, and it was brought to America by the actor Daniel Dae Kim, and I think he's in Hawaii Five-0 and he was in Lost. So he actually bought the rights, brought it to America, tried to sell it to CBS, they bought it, then they decided they didn't want it, he bought it back, and he and his production company worked on it with ABC. So it premiered in 2017, and after the first episode did really well, it had 20 million viewers, it was picked up for the entire first season. So the first season consists of 18 episodes. So the background of The Good Doctor is a young man with autism who was raised in Wyoming and came from kind of abusive parents who didn't understand his autism. But he had a very lovely younger brother. They ran away together and they were just like kind of like little life partners. They lived in a bus until the brother died as a child. And then there was a doctor in Wyoming who kind of took this young man under his wing and kind of was a father figure. When the show starts, he's leaving his home in Wyoming and he is moving to San Jose, which I thought was funny because I grew up in the San Jose, San Francisco Bay Area, so San Jose is kind of my old stomping grounds. So the hospital, it's a fictitious hospital, but it's called San Jose Bonaventure Hospital. The young man, his name is Sean Murphy, and he goes, leaves Wyoming, goes to San Jose to start a residency in a surgical program. So he's going to be a surgeon. And the man who was kind of his mentor is the president of that hospital. So in the first episode, he's in San Jose International Airport. And, of course, there's a crisis. The sign falls and it punctures somebody's, like neck vein, and another doctor is there to kind of help. And, you can see they're kind of showing visuals of what, Sean is thinking and how he's got a photographic memory and all the noises and stuff are really bothering him. And he tells the doctor, you're killing him because he's a kid, you're putting too much, pressure on this. And he goes to TSA and tries to get a knife, and so it's just like kind of chaos ensues, but he comes in and saves the day. They really kind of focused on some of his autistic tendencies or his, just the autism about, like, oh, he had this great photographic memory where he could, memorize everything in a book that he read. And, he had to make some, like out of a couple it was kind of like MacGyver. Like he had to, out of 2 whiskey bottles and some duct tape and a couple tubes, he makes like this pump and it saves, the kid's life. But he goes and steals a knife from TSA. So he's very naive. And they really played up a lot of the autistic stereotypes, like the sounds bothered him, or he had a photographic memory and kind of these superpowers, and he was naive, and he didn't know how to interact with people appropriately, and he got taken down by the police. And it took it's like, let's be honest, like at San Jose International Airport, they probably have paramedics on site. It just took forever, for the time for him to take 2 whiskey bottles and MacGyver this whole pump, really the ambulance would have been there. But anyway, he saves the young man and the kid gets to the hospital. But he can't get led into the hospital because they think basically he's crazy. They think there's something wrong with him and he doesn't have the communication skills to say, no, I'm Sean Murphy. I'm the new resident here. I'm gonna work here. And the security guard kept kicking him out. The show is really full, I would say, of autistic stereotypes. And I think from episode 1 to episode 3, they maybe thought that he wasn't autistic enough, because all of a sudden in episode 3, woo, his autism just really shot up. So, just some of the things, like he's got a toy that's kind of a comfort fidget toy. There's just, lots of, rocking, not talking, not looking at people, blurting out totally inappropriate things. And again, those are common in autism, but for somebody who is like a savant autistic person who was able to get through high school, college, medical school, and then get into a residency program, I would say that some of those skills would probably be higher. Like I would say he presents as more severely impacted by autism than somebody would at that level. And I think it also plays, it just really plays into the hand of that stereotype that everybody with autism has a superpower. Everybody with autism is a savant. Like, no, like the, amount of, autistic savants is like less than 1%. So I don't like the idea that maybe this show is, maybe giving people false hope, like, oh, my child was diagnosed with autism, but he's gonna be like Rain Man and have all these superpowers, like most people with autism are not savants, just like most people in the general population are not savants. So I think it kind of plays up, to that stereotype. I did watch the whole first season, and I would say, don't go to that hospital because everything goes wrong at that hospital. They cannot get through a surgery without somebody crashing and dying. So stay away from that hospital. It's just bad. Also, that hospital has the cutest scrubs ever. I have never seen such adorable scrubs. So if you want to go to a hospital that's really high fashion scrubs, that would be a great hospital to go to. There's a lot of people sleeping with each other, but I've never watched Grey's Anatomy or any of those other hospital shows, so I'm sure, I know that happens in all the hospital dramas. Overall, I would say this is an endearing show. I would say the character is very endearing. After every episode, I can say, okay, the theme of this episode was lying. The theme of this episode is having a friend who's really not a friend, who takes advantage of you. Every episode kind of, has a theme. But overall, I would say I enjoyed the first season. I probably will go ahead and watch the second season, but I'm sure it's like a doctor. When a doctor watches a medical show, they're like, yeah, this doesn't really happen and this doesn't really happen. I think it's kind of, if you know a lot about autism, if you watch the show, there's definitely a lot of eye-rolling moments. But, overall, it's an okay show. It's a sweet show. Again, I think they overplay some of the stereotypes. I think overall the show has a good heart. I know the show has gotten some high praise for the actor. He's 29 years old. His name is Freddie Highmore, and I was familiar with him from the show Bates Motel. So he's 29. My son with Brad is 30. But I think he's a good actor. So he's gotten a lot of praise for his portrayal of this person. The show has gotten more not as great reviews because of the storylines and the plot lines. And again, there has been some controversy, amongst the autism community again about, feeding into a lot of stereotypes. So I do think that there is kind of this this kind of paradox. Again, they're trying to show everything that goes along with autism, yet, he's this brilliant young doctor who's able to navigate the world and navigate medical school and residency. So again, they're making him in some ways, I think, too severely affected by autism when it's convenient, and then in other ways he's very independent, and the autism, doesn't give him any limitations. And so I just think there is a little bit of a mismatch, I would say. So it's very fictionalized. I would say it's not super true to life. I'd love to hear what you think about it. How does The Good Doctor compare with what your life is? Loving, working with, being around people with autism. Do you think it's a mismatch? Do you love the show? Do you hate the show? Have you not watched the show like me? Just said, I'm not gonna watch it, I can't. Just would love to hear your thoughts about The Good Doctor.